Hello, everybody. Hi, welcome to the Kathie J Show. I am so glad to see each and every one of you. I hope that you're having a good day so far. And thank you for hanging out with us and following us on social media. Always get caught up with anything at KathieJShow.com. You can just Google Kathie J. All my social media is right there, Kathie J on air. But here's the big thing, everybody. If you could just take a little second to go to my YouTube channel, Kathie J, and it's just the initial J, and like it, subscribe to it so Mama can make some money. I would appreciate it. Speaking of our mamas out there, this is about you, everybody, single moms in particular and single dads. Did you know there's 20 million single moms and dads in the United States out there? That's a lot. So if you think, like, wow, dating with kids, like, it was tricky before the pandemic, okay? Well, these past 2 years have made it even more challenging, but today, we're helping all of you single parents out. We're gonna help you navigate the dating world again. This is Hope Rike, our dating expert, yay! From It's Just Lunch, Denver. All right, so thank you for doing this.
Of course.
So 20 million,
that's a lot of people, right?
Yes, and they need love.
Yes, and it's hard to be single, no matter what.
Yeah.
But for single parents, it's extra challenging. There's more to deal with your package deal.
Yes,
so it's even more of a challenge.
And you yourself, you're exhausted and tired, and I mean, it's gonna take everything you can to pull yourself together for a date.
Exactly.
Being a single parent, it is hard. So, okay, so social distancing, it made all of us a little awkward.
Yes.
And now some of it, we're trying to get back into it. But single parents in particular, I think they're having the hardest time.
Yeah.
Because they were out of the game for much longer, I think. So what do they need to focus on? What about the single parents?
Well, I mean, one thing is to have that conversation with themselves if they're ready.
Look in the mirror.
Ready? Are they ready? Because you're committing to more when you're a single parent. Like, you have to be able to kind of break down how it's going to work. Even technically, like, okay, what days can I meet someone?
Yes, all that. Because I have a kid.
Am I in a situation where there's shared custody? So I have days that, I don't have my children or I don't have my child, so I'm free to date on these certain days. Or am I a single parent that has my kiddos 100% of the time?
You're not getting out.
Yep. So you have to figure out, what is my child? What can I do for childcare? How old are my kids?
Yes.
That's another thing. Because
and whatever friend you get to babysit, you're going to have to tell them the gossip of who you're going out with.
Yes, all the details. So there's just more to deal with logistically.
There really is.
And you have to be ready for that and prepared, obviously, because if you jump in and you don't know how you're actually going to even have the time to meet someone, then you won't actually get out there and meet them. Then you're just really kind of wasting
Stirring
some
your
time.
wheels.
Yes, exactly.
I think a lot of people that don't have time, they go to the apps. I mean, you start on the apps and stuff, and you can go to Tinder, you can do all that. But I think parents in particular, they're looking for a little bit more quality because they have the package deal.
Exactly. And there are apps that are just for parents.
I love that. What's one of your
parents
favorites?
Looking for other parents.
Yes.
There's a lot, and I don't like to put out favorites because I think it depends on the person.
Okay. But we heard about Stir. Okay. You liked Stir. Okay.
That is one, and even on like a Match.com.
True.
You can say, it's going to ask you your parental status.
Yes.
It's going to ask you what your preference is. People aren't always honest, and here's the other thing is that people don't always even look, or we all know that
they just look at the photo. They don't look at any of the details in the words.
Yes. And that's one thing that my clients will tell me is the biggest kind of time sucker on apps.
Right.
Is, hey, I put my age range as this.
Right.
I put my age range as, to 46, but I have 60-year-olds sending me all these messages.
Right.
And when I say, hey, did you even look at my
profile?
Said, or people from a different state, when you say you want people within a 30-mile radius.
Right.
So a lot of times the trouble there is people aren't necessarily going through and
reading what
making sure that you are what they are looking for, and they are what you are looking for.
You're saying it's all about looks, Hope? Is that what you're saying?
It absolutely can be. A lot of people are basing those decisions just on the picture.
All right. When we come back, everybody, we'll get more into the single parents. Ramos Law is an official partner of the Kathie J Show. He's a medical doctor and a lawyer. Ramos Law, what makes us different makes us better. Welcome back to the Kathie J Show, everybody. So if you are a single parent out there who's looking to date, today's show is just for you. This is our dating expert, Hope Rike. Yay! She's the one that comes to save us every time. So Hope, when it comes to single parents, more so than anyone else out there trying to date, the timing has to be right with the single parent.
Yes, timing is everything.
Yeah.
So there are different circumstances, right, that you may find yourself as a single parent.
Right.
It could be that I was married, we had a family, we divorced.
Okay.
If you're in that scenario, you definitely want to make sure that you're in a good place in terms of enough time has gone by. And when I say that, it's very general, right?
Because I'm like, well, how much time has gone by? What do you mean?
We definitely find that men move
on
and
within the hour.
Yeah, I mean, men.
I'm not lying.
Much faster than women.
Much faster.
Yes.
But I know. I'm so sorry, fellas. Your heart is hurting, and you have to get someone to console it. I understand.
Yep.
Yeah,
they usually kind of
move on
fast. They can almost switch it out. Okay, this didn't work, and now I'm jumping into this marriage.
Yes.
And it depends, and I don't want to speak generally, but that does tend to happen. And
it's harder for women.
Yeah, so you have to really look at it and say, okay. I've had clients say, I don't even want to date someone unless they've been divorced at least a year.
Really? Okay.
They'll say, I know what I went through, so I can only, that's what they think everyone's timeline is.
Right. No, I get that, because with kids involved, there's a lot that has to happen with the schedules, trying to get things right. So you might as well let that parent work it out without you involved.
Yes.
I get that.
I think it's important to not put people too much in those categories of, he has to have been divorced this long or she has to be divorced this long, because when it comes to these relationships, it can be a unique circumstance. There's some couples that have actually been separated, especially when there's kids.
Right.
Couples will separate, and sometimes they're separated for 2 years. They've lived separately for a year of those 2 years. And maybe the first year they tried to make it work. And
I get it. Yeah,
so you've got to really kind of look. I mean, timing is everything, and you have to figure out what timing is right for you.
I would think with women, they would have to kind of like you always say, check yourself. Like, how is my mental status? Am I happy more than I'm sad? Am I living in a depressed world right now? Like, because that's part of the timing.
Well, and maybe you're a single parent and you weren't married.
Yeah, right.
You actually, you had your kids on your own.
Yeah.
You froze your eggs. You did it a different way. Good for you.
Yeah.
So you're not. It's not that you have all this baggage you need to deal with.
Yeah.
But you are doing a full-time job. Probably multiple people's full-time job, all on your own.
Yeah.
So there, it's more about the timing of, do I have the time and resources for this relationship? Yep.
Yes.
And also another scenario is maybe you're not divorced, but you're widowed.
Okay.
And you have these children, and that's a whole nother. I mean, just think about that. You're thinking about your kids. You're thinking about, are they emotionally ready? How will they feel? We think about that with divorce, obviously.
Right, but
it's
is
a different dynamic when a child has lost a parent.
Do you find that some widows tend to gravitate towards other widows?
Absolutely.
Really?
A lot of our clients that are widows will say, hey,
do you have anybody?
It's a preference if somebody has been through this similar circumstance, because I think really it's because they can relate.
Yeah, to the pain, to the loss.
And
guilt.
widowers, if they had a great relationship, they tend to still talk about that person and have good feelings. Whereas divorce, it's sometimes the opposite.
Right, and two widowers would let you talk about it.
Yes.
Okay, everybody,
so
thank you.
Or if you're dating a widower and you're not, you have to be really secure and not be intimidated by that.
Pictures being around the house.
Yes.
All right, when we come back, everybody, we're going to do the do's and don'ts for jumping in the dating pool. This is going to be fun. Kathie J. Oakwood Homes is an official partner of the Kathie J Show. Oakwood Homes, building happiness. Kathie J. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the Kathie J Show. This is Hope Rike, everybody. She is our dating expert from It's Just Lunch Denver. You can find her at itsjustlunchddenver.com. But we're talking about dating, and particularly single parents jumping back into the dating pool. So if you're a single parent, you got to be honest with yourself about what you want in a partner.
Yes.
And what you want in a potential co-parent. You got to think about this.
Yes.
So Hope, that you're always about be upfront, be honest.
Yes.
Boo.
And that's the number one do is be honest. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with the person that you're potentially going to date.
You mean like I have a kid?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, you don't want somebody finding out, 3 weeks in, right? It shouldn't be a surprise.
Are you sure? I swear I mentioned it on our second date.
This is little Timmy.
Right. So you have to, so be upfront.
Be upfront. And, I think it's great for, especially if you're both single parents, to talk about your kids.
Yeah, okay.
But don't let that be the only thing you talk about.
Okay,
make sure, or even if you're dating someone who doesn't have kids and you show up as a parent, yes, you're going to talk about your kids, but make sure that you're still sharing about you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because I don't even like hanging out with another mom and talking about kids too long.
Yes.
Like eventually I need an adult conversation that's normal. Yes.
Exactly.
Okay,
so a lot of times single parents will get on that date and say, especially women, they'll say, oh gosh, but we talked about our kids the entire time. No, remember, women want to have a good time. We want to laugh. We want to forget sometimes. We want to take off the mom hat a little bit.
Right.
And still just have a fun time.
And you're a sexy woman. You're not sexy when you're talking about your kids.
It's true. So don't talk too much about your kids.
All right. So that's a do and a don't in there.
Yes.
We had one of each in there. Okay. So what about telling your kids if you're dating again? Is that a do or a don't?
Ooh, this is a good one. Oh, it's a big one. Again, I think you have to really assess the situation.
Right.
I think you have to know, is this serious? Because you don't want to tell your kids about someone too early in
But they're going to
the
see you getting all gussied up to go out.
I think it's good. You do tell your kids that you're starting to get out there and meet people.
All right.
But do you introduce them right away? No. You want to make sure. I mean, you have to think about your kids first.
Agreed.
And they're going to have emotional they can have emotional attachments to the people that you introduce them to as even just your friend. So you have to think about that beforehand. And I think do have a honest conversation with the person you're dating too.
Yes, right.
Because you don't want to just, I wanted you to meet him, so I told you to come over earlier before he's leaving for soccer. And then they're meeting them and they're not really prepared. Make sure they are also
kid is
ready.
Prepared.
The kid is ready and the person you're dating.
Yeah.
Because you want them to go, I would love to meet your son. I would love to meet your daughter.
Right.
That sounds great, because if they go, ooh, I don't know if we're there yet. Then you don't want your kid to meet them until everybody is feeling like it's the right thing.
Agreed. And a little flag should go up in the back of your head. Like, yes, when will they be ready to meet them?
Exactly.
Okay, so a don't is don't talk about your kids the whole time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But what about now your schedule? Single parents have the worst schedules ever. They have no time to themselves.
Yes. So if you're dating someone who is a single parent, you need to go into it understanding that it's going to be more complicated.
That they might cancel on you?
They're not going to have the same availability.
Right.
We've all been there. Even you might just want to go on a date with your husband and your babysitter cancels, right?
Absolutely, right.
So it's just something you have to be prepared for. And if you're both parents, then it's really like double
cancellations,
the
double
possibilities,
cancellations.
Right?
But it would be hard as someone that didn't have a kid, because after a while I would start being like, you're using this as an excuse, and I would start checking out. But maybe that's how the cards are supposed to fall.
Well, it depends. I mean, that's where if you don't have kids and you're dating someone with kids, you only want to go into it if you can be understanding of that.
Okay, there you go.
If you don't get insecure going, oh, he must be seeing someone else, because you have to be realistic that their kids do come first.
So that is a do. The kids stay first.
Yes, absolutely. And
some people,
and
I have to say
that.
it, because some people wouldn't put their kids first.
It's true.
They're so like, I've been your mom for 18 years. This is my chance. And they wouldn't put the kids first.
Well, and of course, I think you have to consider too, how old are the kids?
Yeah.
I mean,
but
totally
I get the 18,
different,
but I'm still not going to kick you out so I can move somebody in.
Exactly.
I'm not going to do that.
Yep. If you're dating someone with older kids, it's a different dynamic,
it is
right?
A different dynamic.
If you're dating someone with little ones, it's going to be much more complicated.
Right. There's 3 particular men, and they're all going to get you really good Christmas presents. You don't want to do that. All right, now boundaries with the kids and who they meet.
Yes.
Okay, I really want to get into this really fast.
Okay.
So, do I introduce you as this is just mommy's friend? And 3rd date, 4th date, is that too soon?
I would say it's too soon.
I would too. I'm glad you agree.
Yes, I think it's way too soon. I think you have to, I think parents really should be secure and like, we are having a relationship and we are, we're exclusive.
Yes.
We're only seeing each other. And like I was saying before, both parties in this relationship have to be open to the introduction to the child, because it's going to add a whole nother dynamic.
Yes,
they might not welcome you.
Right, that might be actually. It might not be the best kid. You might not want to be a part of this family.
the child might at first feel, defiant or give that person some trouble.
Right.
And so they should be prepared that is a possibility.
So the foundation needs to be between the two adults first before they bring in the second dynamic that's going to spin the world upside down.
Exactly.
Totally makes sense, Hope. All right, everybody. When we come back, tips for people who just don't want to date people with kids. They're out there. That's next.
Kathie J.
The Colorado Lottery is an official partner of the Kathie J Show. Colorado Lottery, play on. Welcome back to the show, everybody. So I am learning a lot in the commercial breaks. We've been talking about single parents out there hitting the dating scene, getting back out there. You deserve it. But what if what you're doing, the person that you're dating doesn't want to have a kid? They don't want to be with someone that has a kid. None of that. No kids. Everybody, this is Hope Rike back with her awesome advice. Okay, so there's people out there. Before I had kids, I didn't want to date men with kids, but I dated 2 men with kids. Things change, people. But there are dating sites, there are apps out there strictly for people that don't want to date with kids.
Absolutely. Yeah, okay. I mean, you can Google it. If you're looking for someone who does not have, you can be looking for somebody who doesn't have kids because you want to have kids.
Okay, right.
And you don't want them to have kids.
Totally.
You may be looking for someone who doesn't have kids because you don't want kids.
Period.
Like, ever.
Right.
Yep. And that's there too.
You already had your kids and you don't want them to have kids. Who knows?
It can go both ways.
Yes,
yep.
right.
But there are places to look for that. Just be aware too, not everybody represents their parental status.
That's what we were laughing about during
online.
the commercial break is, how she was saying earlier, well, they'll just look at the photo and not even read all the information you took the time to say. Like, I love chasing waterfalls and I do this and I love this. They don't even read any of that. They're just looking at your picture, and so pay attention to the fact that they automatically might not know that you said you had a kid, that you might have to go through your whole new bio with this person because they just thought you were hot and they clicked on you, right?
Exactly.
And you're under the assumption that they know all about you.
Yes.
Right.
And sometimes people actually purposely misrepresent themselves.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally.
If they're on an app that is really focused on no kids, even though they technically have a kid,
right?
And people's definitions of that sometimes are wild.
Like what?
Oh, it can be, I do have a child, but they live on the other side of the country, and I only see him in the summer. And that's you still have a child.
You still have a child.
So if we're being technical here, you definitely have a kiddo. So another thing that comes up, Kathie, is that in different age ranges,
like what?
It's 20s and 30s when you're saying I don't have kids and I don't want anyone with kids. Makes sense, but you also need to be realistic when you're aging.
Okay.
That if you say no kids, you are drastically depleting the pool of single people that you can meet.
Right, because if you're over 50, looking for someone over 50 with no kids, you're looking for a unicorn.
Exactly.
Because most likely everybody has kids.
It just goes with age. I mean,
it does go with age.
You have to really kind of tweak those expectations.
True.
I'm 25. I don't want someone with kids. Great.
Yep.
The world is your oyster. You
agree.
You can have your pick. But if you're 55 and you're saying that, you really who did you just narrow it down to?
Right. Zero. Nobody.
Yes,
you just narrowed it down to zero. Thank you, Hope, for always coming on our show.
Of course.
Always dropping the best knowledge. Now, you are a professional matchmaker.
Yes.
So tell everybody what you do over there at It's Just Lunch Denver.
If you're looking for somebody, just what we're talking about today.
Yeah,
if you're looking for something more specific, a matchmaker really actually is a great way to go.
Yes.
Because we kind of work as your in-between to get the full story on people. I mean, we want our clients are honest with us because they have to invest. They're invested. If you're working with a matchmaker, you tend to be more invested.
Right.
Yep, you're financially invested. You're emotionally invested. You're not going to do something like this unless you're really committed.
Which is good. Which is
committed to the process.
And that's why I think so many women come to It's Just Lunch Denver because to find a man that's already being honest about that part, I'm okay having a relationship.
Well,
that's a
they
unicorn
know that
too.
the men that are there are going to also be They are
quality.
also invested. Yeah, they're not just on an app trying to find somebody to meet them for the evening. They're looking for that relationship.
Yes.
And they want her to come to the table too, being, we cater to busy professionals, smart and independent and a partner.
That must be fun. That must be kind of fun.
It is fun.
Matching people together and seeing.
And, parental status is something that we hear all the time. People are they have their preference. And that's something that we can always cater to when we're matching too. What is this person's goals?
Yes.
And what are they open to? Because if I have my 45-year-old saying, I want someone with no kids, I'm going to try to open that client's mind because I want to broaden their opportunity.
Right, yes. You have to, you can't just we're going to find something that's quality that's good for you. It's Just Lunch Denver is where you can find, it's justlunchdenver.com is where you can find Hope. If you want that perfect personalized dating experience, definitely Hope is your gal, everybody. But for everybody else out there, like she said, we're misrepresenting each other. We're having a good time, but the secret is be honest with yourself. Be honest with what you're putting out there, and hopefully the honesty comes back to you.
Yes.
If not, hopefully it was just good for that night. I'm kidding. That's just Kathie J. Have a good night day, everybody.